Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aaron Knightley, and in today's video we're going to be talking about having multiple bank accounts, the importance behind it, and also how it can mitigate risk when there is so much financial uncertainty in the very near future. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start by asking the most important question: why would we use multiple banks and have different accounts within those banks? Well, I'm going to use history just to answer this most important question. It's one that I get asked a lot, and I'd be very interested to hear, if you leave me a comment below, how many banks you use, why, and what purpose do the accounts serve, and then I'll get back to you. So let me just reel off a bit of history here. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail, but these are the big factors and points that we need to consider when making our decisions on what banks we use and why. So 2008, biggest investment bank in the US, the Lehman Brothers, completely collapsed, which shook the US, and we certainly felt the effects over here in the UK and within the stock market. So that was a big wake-up call for a lot of investors and a lot of people really heavily using the banks, that actually they might need to now start mitigating risk and opening other accounts with different banks. 2012, obviously in the UK, we saw the collapse of Northern Rock, which left a lot of people in bad financial situations that held all their money within that bank, and it was a bit of a nightmare overall. 2013, when Cyprus went into a financial default across the country, meant billions of people were trying to get their money out of the Cyprus accounts, but Cyprus completely froze all of the bank accounts, which meant people could not access their money, which meant it didn't matter whether you were a millionaire in the bank or whether you only had 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, or even 100,000. It made no odds, because neither of you could access your money. So even to this day, they have a clause where you can only withdraw a certain amount of money each week, which leaves people in a bit of a sticky situation when it comes to paying for things, bills, and just general living. I don't think we'd see that in the US or the UK. However, there's nothing to say that new clauses, which we're going to get into a little bit later, I'm only going to briefly touch on it because I've spoken about it before in another video, which I'll just include up here, which is protecting yourself against the financial crisis. So, digital failure, what could happen there? Well, this is another reason we're going to look at. We're just covering off the negatives here before we get onto the positives of having different banks and multiple accounts. Is a few years ago, TSB had a digital failure across the systems where no one could essentially access their online banking, couldn't withdraw money. So there's nothing to say that because we're in that age where everything is digitalized, that it couldn't happen again, especially with your bank. What happened? Ask yourself actually, what would happen to you if your systems went down within the bank you're using and you needed to pay bills that week? Could you pay them? Have you got access to other funds elsewhere? So it's a question we all need to ask ourselves. Again, leave me a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you use multiple banks, or are you still sticking with one bank, one saving account and one current account? If so, it's absolutely fine. It's just not what I would personally do. So let's get on to some of the pros and why I use multiple bank accounts. Okay, so why do I have 5 banks and 10 different accounts? Okay, well, the simple answer to that is full automation. Standing orders is a lifesaver. So money comes in, filters off into all these different accounts, and it's really easy to monitor when money goes in and it comes out, and you know exactly the reasons why, because every account has its own specific use. So I'm just going to dive into some of the reasons why I use certain banks and the perks. Obviously go away, do your own research, and there is no advice here to what bank you should be using, but these are some of my own experiences with these certain banks. So Nationwide is up there at the top. Great customer service online, great in-house customer service. App is simple to use, and it doesn't bombard you with all different features that it wants you to sign up to, which is a big plus for me because I don't want to keep opening up my app and having to reject all these new features. Santander, very good customer service in-house and online, had no issues. The only thing I'm not keen on about Santander is it always tries to get you to link up your other bank accounts, which I'm not keen on because essentially they fluff it up. But what it means is they want to fully monitor your spending and where your money's going by covering it up and saying, you know, we'll do your budget and if you're overspending and what you're spending where. Yes, that's great, but really all it is therefore is to monitor where your money's going and to see your money in your other bank. So I'm not keen on that. NatWest, not overly keen on, not my favourite bank, very, very nosy as a bank, and in-house and online customer service, I've not had a great experience, so they're not my favourite bank. Starling, I'm very happy with. online, easy to use, great app, comes with a free business account, no fees, and I have a current account with that in order to open up my business account. Lloyd's also very simple, no real issues. And again, the bonus of having different banks is if one system were to go down in one bank, I can access my funds through the other banks that I hold money within. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to take you over by the board. I'm going to show you how I break down and how I use these different accounts, 10 accounts and one stocks and shares ISA, and where my money filters off to in regards to the spread of using these accounts. So you can visually see the use of having multiple banks. And the main thing is you can really monitor and maximize and forecast what your financial situation will be for you or your family and aim towards those goals using different accounts. So come and join me by the board. I'm just going to write up the 10 accounts and the stocks and shares ISA, just so you can kind of get an understanding on why and how I use different accounts. Okay, so now let's take a look at where my money goes to using these different accounts and the purpose that they serve. So number one, the obvious one, is household bills, which goes into a joint account. So that's your everyday living, your everyday spend in order to go about your day and keep the roof over your head. So that needs to be paid first. Number two, it goes into a savings account. And again, everything's on a standing order, but this is the most important one to me, is the emergency. Before you invest, before you aim towards a financial freedom future, is that you build a rainy day fund, or an emergency pot as I call it, where if there's total loss of income between you or your partner and your family essentially cannot live without that income, you then tap into the emergency fund. But other than that, it is not to be used. And I always recommend putting a portion of your income every week or every month, always topping that emergency fund up. It should be priority first over the other ones. So number three, I have another current account which is for maintenance. So not everyone has to have this. I do, because it's like an extra comfort for me. It's like that first line of defense. And essentially the maintenance is before I ever have to touch the emergency. So if I ever had to dip into the emergency because there was total loss of income and the car went, I needed a new dishwasher, the cooker went, the freezer went, whatever it is, I don't want to use my income emergency, I want to use maintenance. So maintenance for me pays for MOTs, like I said, breakdown of a cooker, any kind of issues that happen within the house that needs fixing, but I do not want to touch my emergency pot. So that's why I have a maintenance fund, that these two always get invested first before the other ones. So number four, I have another savings account, which is like quick access. So what does that mean? Well, it is a savings pot and I'm saving and I do not touch it. But if for some strange reason I needed to tap into some funds instantly from a bank, this is my quick access. This is the pot that I would use. So it's not a pot I'm relying on, but it's a pot that I am saving up for my retirement and for my family. But at the same time, I'm willing to use it as a quick access fund. So I put a small amount each week in. Number five, I have another savings account, which is for our bulk investments. So for our family bulk investments, whether that's towards property, lending, private investment, whatever that is, that's our main bulk. So we go quite heavily on that. It's quite a heavy percentage that we invest weekly and monthly into that. And then that goes towards our biggest assets. That's what's driving our financial future. Number six is separate an account. It's the stocks and shares using Moneybox, and again, that is for my retirement. I put that into a Fidelity fund. I go quite aggressive on it, and again, that's towards retirement. So it is actually a separate account. Seven, I have a private pension account. So again, I pay this in weekly, where I'm topping that up towards the retirement. Again, I'm very much a long-term vision where I see where I want to be, and this is an account that helps me get there. Again, it's all automated, it's all on a standing order, so I don't even have to think about any of this, it just happens. 8 is another savings account for our son's future, where we put money by, again, weekly or monthly, and at birthdays and at Christmas, and that goes towards our son's future. Number 9, we have another current account, which is for a side income. So the money drops in, keeps it all separate. We know exactly what's going in, who it's from and everything like that. And again, we're able to really monitor using a lot of accounts. You might think it's more hassle. Actually, it's easier, especially if you have a bit of a spreadsheet where you have it in a diary, very easy to monitor. So that is a side income. Number 10, we have another current account with another bank, which again is another side income. So as you start to develop multiple streams of income, you're going to need to keep watch on where they are for tax reasons and stuff like that. Obviously, when you're due to pay your tax at the end of the financial year. Number 11, we have another current account. Once all of this has been paid, we're left with the most important one, well, second most important one after these top few here. But of course, you need to have fun. So this is a very important one, is fun money. So that's to go out for the family, meals out, holidays, whatever it is you want to do. So I hope this kind of gives a bit of explanation, a bit of understanding to why actually there are benefits to having multiple accounts and why it is important not just to hold your money within one bank. It is actually mitigating your risk quite a bit using different banks. You can have as many as you want, by the way. There is no sort of clause and you can only have so many. Again, thanks for watching. I do hope you've liked this video. If so, do hit the like button, hit subscribe. And again, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have multiple accounts with different banks. And until the next video, I'll see you then.